you so much for joining me today. Today we are going to look into the medical device requirements related to the design. So we are going first to look into what is a design input, what's a design output, what is a design file history, and what goes into those files. So first of all, allow me to go over this. I'm going to read, of course, the content, and then we are going to have some discussions together. So first of all, when we talk about the design and development planning, each manufacturer shall establish and maintain plans that describe or reference the design and development activities and define responsibilities for implementation. So these plans identify and describe the interfaces with different groups or activities inside or outside of the company. And of course, the result is that we're going to have the input and of the design and the development process. So this plan must be, of course, in writing. So, related to the design input, each manufacturer shall establish and maintain procedures to ensure that the design requirements relating to a device are appropriate and address the intended use of the device. So, it includes the needs of the user and the patient. Now, the procedure shall include a mechanism for addressing incomplete, ambiguous, or conflicting requirements. So again, we do have a design input document as well, and we are going to add this document as well in the folder. We call that the file history. Another important point is the design output. So each manufacturer shall establish and maintain procedures for defining and documenting design output in terms that allow an adequate evaluation of conformance to design input requirements. No design output procedures shall contain or make reference to acceptance criteria and shall ensure that those design outputs are essential for the proper functioning of the device. Of course, we are going to go over more discussions when we are going to develop more in the next points. Then we also need to have a document that is called a design review. So we establish and maintain procedures to ensure the formal documented reviews of the design results, so the design input and the design output of the medical device. And we are also now going to document the fact that it has been reviewed. So the procedure must ensure that participants at each design review include representatives of all functions concerned with the design stage, of course, being reviewed. Then, once we have established the design input, so what goes into the medical device, or again, the device, and the output, so what is getting out of that system or that device, and then after having reviewed and documented the fact that we checked the inputs and outputs and the processing in the device based on the patient and obviously the team requirements, we will then document it, and then we will now look into the verification of the design. This is important because this is like we are planning in advance. We are writing what should go, what type of, inputs are going to be used, and then what are the outputs from the device. Then we will need to review our own input and output design, and once this is done, we will need to verify the design. Now here, each manufacturer shall establish and maintain procedures for verifying the device design. Design verification shall confirm that the design output meets the design input requirements. The results of the design verification, including identification of the design, methods, the date, and the individuals performing the verification, shall be documented in the device history file, or DHF. So now we understand that even before starting to make a device, we have to have a team looking into the requirements from the patients, from healthcare providers, from the market, in order to make a design. A design where we have the inputs and the outputs, and then we validate the design, obviously, after having verified the design. So now, what is a document related to the design validation? And again, this is before starting to make the device. Each manufacturer shall establish and maintain procedures for validating the device design. Now, design validation shall be performed under defined operating conditions on initial production units, lots or batches, or their equivalents. So we understand that when we are starting to make the device, we will need to always check against the design that has been verified, and we validate that we are making the device based on the design that we already documented, and we kept all of those documentations related to the input, output, review, and verifications in the device history file, or DHF. So now a design validation shall ensure that devices conform to defined user needs and intended uses, and shall include testing of production units under actual or simulated use conditions. Design validation shall include software validation, because softwares may also be, again, we can also be considered as devices, and risk analysis where appropriate. So the result of the design validation, including identification of the design, methods, the dates, and the individuals performing the validation, shall be documented in the device history file. So in a nutshell, we just went over the requirements for medical devices design. We understood that we need to have a document related to the design based on the requirements from the patients and healthcare providers. And then we will need to identify the inputs of the design, inputs of the device, the outputs of the device. We also need to review, so we have to document that we had a committee, we had a team reviewing the device, and then we are going to do the verification and then the validation, and then we start to produce the medical device while we are at any step of the production of the device, making sure, so having procedures in place in order to make sure that the production is following the design of the device. So I hope that this short lecture, but important lecture, was useful, and I thank you so much for your attendance.